My name is Claire Bennett. I'm 31 years old, and the man I almost married tried to turn my survival into proof that I was cheating on him. The night everything detonated didn't look dramatic at first. I walked into our apartment after the gym, hair still damp at the ends from a rushed shower, leggings sticking slightly to my skin, that pleasant post-workout ache humming in my legs. My gym bag thumped against my hip as I nudged the door closed with my foot. Our little place smelled like coffee and something burnt. Then I saw him. Ethan was sitting at the kitchen table with his arms crossed, shoulders locked, jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscle ticking. His best friend Sierra sat next to him, elbows on the table, like they'd been rehearsing for a courtroom drama, and I was the defendant who'd just walked in. That look on his face, it was the look that says someone's about to have a very bad time, and it's not going to be him. "We need to talk," Ethan said. His voice could have frozen a summer storm. I set my gym bag down slowly, still catching my breath. "Okay," I said. "About what?" "About the affair you're having." I actually laughed. Out loud. "Big mistake." "You think this is funny?" he snapped, shooting up from the chair so fast it scraped harshly against the tile. "You think cheating on me is some kind of joke?" My brain stalled. "Ethan, what are you talking about?" "I know you're cheating on me, Claire." His eyes were bright, wild, conviction shaking his words. "The gym obsession, the new clothes, you're completely different." "Different how?" I asked, because I genuinely wanted to know what story he'd written in his head. "Don't play dumb with me." He started ticking things off on his fingers. "Every single day at that gym. New leggings, new tops, you're always on your phone, and you're super secretive about it." "I'm not secretive with my phone." "Yes, you are." Sierra finally spoke, her voice dripping with this smug, faux-concerned tone. "You angle it away from him when you're using it. You've been doing that for weeks. And you smell different now," Ethan added. "New perfume, new body wash, whatever. And you're always in this weirdly good mood, which is super suspicious." I blinked. "Being in a good mood is suspicious?" "You never smiled after going to the gym before," he said. "Now you come home practically glowing. So who is he?" "There's literally no one," I said. "I have no idea what you—" "Liar!" His voice jumped to full volume so fast it punched the air out of my lungs. "I've been watching you." Something cold slid down my spine. "What do you mean, watching me?" "I followed you to the gym 3 times, he said, like he was proud of it. "I've seen you at that health food store on 6th. I've been going through your phone when you're sleeping." That last part hit me like someone had dumped a bucket of ice water over my head. "You've been doing what? And you want to know what else?" He was spiraling now, words tumbling out faster than his brain could edit them. "Sierra went to your gym last week, Thursday. Blonde hair, purple sports bra. Do you remember her?" I remembered. The woman who kept trying to talk to me in the middle of my circuit, leaning on machines I was about to use, asking small talk questions while I was tracking my reps on my phone. "Vaguely," I said. "I sent her there to test you," Ethan said. "And you know what happened? You completely ignored her when she tried to flirt with you. You barely even talked to her. That's suspicious." I just stared at him. "Let me get this straight," I said slowly. "You told your friend to hit on your own girlfriend at the gym while I was working out. And when I didn't take the bait, that's proof I'm cheating?" "It proves you're hiding someone," Sierra cut in. "Normal women would at least talk a little. You shut it down immediately. That screams guilt." The mental gymnastics required for this logic were genuinely impressive. "You really want to know why I've been going to the gym every day?" I asked. "Finally," Ethan said. "Yes, just admit it already." I pulled out my phone, opened my email, and scrolled until I found the one from my doctor. My fingers shook a little as I tapped it open. I set the phone on the table in front of him. "Read it," I said. "All of it." He grabbed it, eyes scanning quickly. I watched his face morph, furious, to confused, to completely blank. "My cholesterol was 267, I said quietly. "Blood pressure 148/94. A1C at 6.3. My doctor sat me down 3 months ago and told me, in very clear terms, that if I don't make serious lifestyle changes immediately, I'm looking at heart disease before I'm 40, possibly a heart attack." The image flashed in my mind again. My dad dropping dead from a heart attack at 54 while trimming the hedges in our backyard, my mom's scream echoing through the neighborhood. I swallowed. "I don't want to end up like that," I said. "I want to live." Silence. The kind that feels heavy and pressurized, like the air before a storm. Then Ethan finally spoke. "Then why didn't you tell me about this?" he demanded. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "I'm glad you're taking care of yourself." Just accusation, like I'd wronged him by not dying loudly enough in front of him. I did tell you, I said, 3 months ago. Right after that appointment, I came home and said I needed to start eating healthier and asked if you would help me. You said sure, and then ordered pizza for dinner that night, and the next night, and 3 more nights after that. Well, you should have been more clear about how serious it was. I stared at him. I said, and I quote, "My cholesterol is dangerously high, and I need to make major changes." How much clearer could I possibly have been? You didn't say it was life or death. What part of dangerously high sounds casual to you? His eyes flashed. Don't you dare turn this around on me. This is your fault for keeping secrets. Something in me snapped then. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet little crack inside my chest, like a fault line finally giving way. I stood up, picked up my gym bag, and started walking toward the bedroom. Where do you think you're going? Ethan demanded. Packing a bag, I said. I'm staying at my sister's for a while. Oh, that's perfect, he scoffed. Just run away. That's not suspicious behavior at all. I pulled my duffel out of the closet and started throwing clothes into it. Jeans, t-shirts, underwear, my work laptop. He followed me down the hall, words chasing me like angry hornets. You can't just leave, he said. We need to talk about this. Talk about what exactly? I asked without turning around. About how you've been stalking me? Going through my phone while I sleep? Sending your friend to try to seduce me? All because I'm trying not to die young? I wasn't stalking you. I was being observant. There's a difference. You literally just admitted to following me multiple times, I said, to different locations, without my knowledge. Only a few times, and I was right to be suspicious about the changes. I zipped the bag, slung it over my shoulder, and walked toward the front door. I'm done, I said. You're seriously leaving over one fight? His voice cracked on the last word. This isn't one fight, I said. You violated my privacy in every way a person can. You accused me of cheating for trying to stay alive. You set an actual trap to catch me doing something I wasn't doing. I'm not staying for that. This is insane, he shouted. I'm the victim here. I was just trying to protect our relationship. I stopped with my hand on the doorknob. Protect it from what? I asked quietly. From me living past 50? From whoever you're sneaking around with. There is no one, I said. There has never been anyone, but clearly you're never going to believe that. So, we're done. If you walk out that door, we are over. Do you hear me? Crystal clear, I said. Goodbye. His face went completely white, like the reality had finally reached him a second too late. You don't actually mean that, he said. I mean every single word. I opened the door and stepped out into the hallway. He screamed after me about what a horrible, selfish person I was, how I was throwing away 5 years like they meant nothing, how I'd regret this for the rest of my life, how no other man would ever put up with my issues. My older sister, Jenna, opened her front door 30 minutes later, looked at my face, and didn't ask a single question. She just took my bag from my shoulder. Guest room's all yours, she said softly. Stay as long as you need. I dropped down on her couch, my phone buzzing nonstop in my hand with incoming texts from Ethan. Apologies, insults, pleas, threats, all tangled together. I hadn't even seen the worst of what he was capable of yet. That part was still coming. The text messages started basically immediately. By the time I'd taken off my shoes at Jenna's place, Ethan had already cycled through half a breakup movie's worth of scripts in my notifications. I'm sorry, baby. Please come home. We can work through this. I love you. Followed by, you're being completely ridiculous and overdramatic about this whole thing. Then fine, then stay there. See if I care. I don't need you anyway. I sat on my sister's couch, phone face down on the coffee table, listening to it buzz like an angry wasp nest. You want me to take that thing and put it in the freezer? Jenna asked from the kitchen. Because I will. I gave her a weak smile, kind of tempted. Shower first, she said. Frozen ex-boyfriend later. For 3 days it didn't stop. Apology, rage, guilt trip, repeat. On day 3, between my doctor's email and my sister's quiet, grounded presence, some part of me softened, just enough to agree to one thing. Coffee, neutral location, middle of the day. Just to talk like adults, I texted. I picked a cafe halfway between the apartment and Jenna's place, somewhere with big windows and too many plants. If anything went nuclear, at least there'd be witnesses. I got there 10 minutes early, ordered a black coffee I wasn't sure my stomach could handle, and sat facing the door. When Ethan walked in, he wasn't alone. Sierra was right beside him, a half step behind, like a silent bodyguard in athleisure. My heart sank. You're kidding me, I said as they approached the table. You brought Sierra? I need emotional support. Ethan said, sliding into the chair across from me, like this was completely reasonable. After the way you've been acting lately, I wasn't about to meet you alone. Sierra sat next to him, already giving me these practiced, judgmental eyes. I'd seen that look before, at the gym, on a bench, purple sports bra, pretending to stretch while she watched me like a hawk. This was going to be fun. Look, I started, keeping my hands wrapped around the warm cup so they wouldn't shake. We really need to have an honest conversation about what happened. The following me around, going through my phone, sending Sierra to... I was not stalking you, Ethan snapped, cutting me off. God, Claire, you are so dramatic about everything. I was paying attention to concerning changes in your behavior. You followed me to multiple locations without my knowledge or consent, I said. That's literally the definition of stalking. You're twisting it, he said. I was trying to protect us. Sierra leaned forward, inserting herself like she'd been waiting for this cue. You have to try to understand this from his perspective, she said. You completely changed basically overnight. New wardrobe, new attitude, constantly at the gym, always smiling. Because my doctor told me to make lifestyle changes or risk dying young, I said. Right, that's what you claim happened. I looked straight at Ethan. Do you actually think I faked my blood test results? I asked. He didn't answer. He just stared down into his untouched coffee, jaw tight. That silence told me everything I needed to know. I sat back. We're done here, I said. Ethan's head snapped up. Sit down. I am sitting. You know what I mean, his voice sharpened. We are not finished with this conversation. Yeah, I said, suddenly very, very tired. Actually, we are. So you're just giving up, he demanded. 5 years together and you're throwing it all away over one fight? This isn't one fight, I said. You violated my trust and my privacy in multiple ways. And instead of apologizing, you're sitting here with your friend as backup, trying to tell me I'm the problem. Sierra stood up too, like a second wave. He is here actively trying to fix things and work on your relationship, she said. And you're being completely stubborn and closed off. Sending your friend to hit on me at the gym while I'm tracking my heart rate isn't working on the relationship, I said. It's a trap. She rolled her eyes. Do you have any idea how many women would love to have a boyfriend who cares enough to make sure they're being loyal? I stared at her. He cared so much about my loyalty that his first thought when I started trying not to die was, she must be cheating, I said. Do you hear yourselves? Ethan's face flushed a blotchy red. You know what? He snapped. Fine, just leave then. I don't need you anyway. Perfect, I said, standing. My chair scraped the floor, loud enough to turn heads. I'll come by tomorrow around noon to get the rest of my stuff. You absolutely cannot do that, Ethan said, outraged. That is our apartment. I pay 70% of the rent every single month. I'll be there tomorrow at noon, I repeated. Don't touch my things. I dropped cash on the table to cover my coffee and turned for the door. They followed me all the way to the parking lot, Ethan raising his voice with every step. You're making a huge mistake, he shouted. You're emotionally unavailable. You're probably a narcissist. No one else is ever going to love you the way I love you. The way you love me nearly killed me, I said without turning around. I got into my car, hands shaking as I shoved the keys into the ignition. In my rearview mirror, I watched Ethan gesturing wildly at Sierra, who nodded along like a loyal audience. My phone buzz-eyed twice before I even pulled out of the parking lot. By the time I got back to Jenna's place, there were 12 new messages. If you do this, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. You're destroying everything good in your life because you can't handle being confronted. After everything I did for you, this is how you repay me? I silenced the thread. Did it go how you hoped? Jenna asked gently as I walked in. I hung my keys on her hook like they belonged there. Worse, I said, and exactly how I should have expected. She didn't say I told you so. She just handed me a mug of tea and let me lean against her kitchen counter until my heartbeat stopped trying to punch its way out of my chest. The next day at noon, I drove back to the apartment. The hallway smelled the same, the familiar scuff marks on the baseboards, the same crooked little picture by the stairs that our neighbor's kid had drawn. My name printed next to Ethan's on the mailbox. I slid my key into the lock. It didn't turn. For a second, I thought I'd picked up the wrong one from my key ring. I checked, tried again, jiggled the knob. Nothing. My stomach dropped. He wouldn't, except of course he would. I pulled out my phone and called him. It rang twice. Oh, he said, sounding almost cheerful. You made it. My key doesn't work, I said. Did you change the locks? Oh, I know, he said. I had them changed last night. You can't legally do that, I said. My name is on the lease. So is mine, he said breezily. And I called the landlord yesterday and explained that you'd been making threatening statements and I didn't feel safe with you having access to the apartment. He was super understanding about the whole situation. Only charged me $150 to come out and change the locks. The casual, easy way he just lied, like he was describing the weather, made my skin crawl. "Where are my belongings?" I asked. "Oh, don't worry," he said. "I took care of all that for you. Packed up every single thing of yours and put it all in a storage unit over on 5th Street. I even rented it under your name so you can access it whenever you want. And I was nice enough to pay for the first month myself. You're welcome, by the way." "You went through all of my personal belongings," I said slowly, "and removed them from the apartment where I legally live." "You said you were coming to get your stuff," he said. "I just made it easier and more convenient for you. God, you're being so ungrateful right now." "That's illegal, Ethan. You can't just remove someone's property from—" "Oh, please," he cut in. "Prove I did anything wrong. You abandoned the apartment for days. I'm a woman living alone now." He caught himself, flustered, then blew past it. "I have every legal right to feel safe and change the locks." "I was gone for less than a week," I said. "Well, it felt like abandonment to me," he said. "Anyway, I have to go. The storage unit number is 247. Bye." He hung up. I stared at my reflection in the dark screen of my phone, my own stunned expression looking back at me. Then I exhaled, long and shaky, and called the one person I knew would give me reality instead of drama. My cousin Mariah picked up on the second ring. "Hey," she said, "please tell me you're calling because you finally left him and not because you got married secretly." "I left him," I said. "Now he's changed the locks and moved my stuff into a storage unit." There was a beat of silence. "Okay," she said, voice sharpening into the no-nonsense tone she used at work. "Tell me everything from the top." I paced the hallway, talking quietly, giving every detail: the doctor's email, the stalking, the gym test, the coffee shop ambush, the lock change, the storage unit. "Legally, he absolutely cannot keep you out of an apartment you're on the lease for," Mariah said when I finished. "But if you force your way back in, he can spin that as breaking and entering or make some kind of domestic violence claim. For now, just go get your stuff from the storage unit and document absolutely everything. Pictures, videos, dates, texts. I'll draft a letter to your landlord explaining your rights." "Okay," I said, trying to steady my breathing. "Storage unit first, paper trail second." "And Claire?" "Yeah?" "Change your passwords," she said. "All of them. Email, banking, social, streaming, everything. If he was going through your phone, assume he helped himself to everything else too." A cold, crawling feeling moved up my arms. "I'll do it tonight," I said. The storage unit on 5th looked like every other storage place. Endless rows of metal doors, fluorescent lights, the faint smell of dust and cardboard and other people's emergencies. My unit was on the second row, number 247, just like he'd said. I lifted the garage-style door and stared. Everything I owned had been thrown into boxes like someone was trying to win a speed packing contest with no rules. Clothes tangled with kitchen gadgets, my work files mixed with DVDs, extension cords wrapped around picture frames. At the very bottom of one half-crushed box, under a bag of my dirty gym clothes, I found my grandfather's watch in its leather case, the one he'd specifically left to me in his will. The case was scratched, like someone had dragged it across something rough. I ran my thumb over the damage and knew, deep in my bones, that it wasn't an accident. My phone buzzed. "Hope you're happy with yourself," Ethan had written. "You completely destroyed our relationship, and now you're literally stealing community property. I have witnesses who saw you taking things. This is theft." We weren't even married. There was no such thing as community property between us. I didn't respond. I just took a picture of the text, the unit number, the mess, and slid my grandfather's watch gently into my jacket pocket, where it should have been all along. Mariah's letter to the landlord went out that night. She told me it was clear and firm and full of phrases that made landlords nervous. And as I sat on Jenna's couch again, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes and my life rearranged into cardboard and chaos, I had no idea that this was just phase 2. Next came the lies with badges and letterheads. The next few days passed in a haze of legal paperwork, tense phone calls, and managing the growing avalanche of texts from Ethan and his family. They were relentless, their guilt trips, accusations, and pleas becoming more absurd as the days wore on. He'd gone quiet after I'd moved my things out of the storage unit, but his mother and sister, they kept calling, each conversation more suffocating than the last. Ethan's mother was the first to escalate. "You need to fix this situation with my daughter immediately," she'd said the moment I answered her call. "Hello? I asked, barely containing the irritation in my voice. What's going on now? You've left her with no choice. She can't afford the apartment rent on her own, and you're making her out to be the bad guy here. I closed my eyes, my fingers tightening around the phone. Then she should find a cheaper place to live, I said firmly. I'm done being involved in this, Mary. You're being cruel, she shot back, her voice rising. You are the one who left her. I left because she stalked me, violated my privacy, and accused me of cheating for trying to save my own life, I explained, my patience thinning. She didn't care about me. She cared about being in control. That's not love. That's manipulation. Well, she is family. You're supposed to forgive family. The audacity, the emotional blackmail had me shaking with rage. She's not my family anymore, Mary, and I'm not fixing this. She needs to get her own life together. I'm done. I ended the call before she could twist the knife further. The text didn't stop. I've been crying for days. I don't know where to go. I need help. You're the only one who can fix this, Claire. Please, I know you're hurting, but you have to help me. I'm sorry, but I'm desperate. Every message felt like a little shackle being added to my wrists. I deleted them, all of them. I had a right to peace. I'd given everything to that relationship, my time, my heart, and my future. And yet, in the end, I wasn't enough to stop the control. And now, I was just one more thing to be discarded. Weeks passed, and the dust didn't settle. Ethan's next move was a legal threat, an actual letter from a lawyer. The letterhead looked cheap, a clear indication of how desperate they were to make something stick. It wasn't about anything real. It was a collection of wild accusations, like a child's tantrum written out on legal paper. Breach of promise to marry. The letter gleamed in bold print. Emotional distress and mental anguish, for which he couldn't provide a single medical receipt. Damage to the apartment, which, of course, were all fabricated expenses. I called my cousin immediately. Mariah read the letter over the phone. Okay, so first of all, breach of promise to marry hasn't been legally valid in this state since 1988, she said with a scoff. Second, she kept the engagement ring, but now wants you to pay her for it. Third, emotional distress. She'd have to prove it with medical records, receipts for therapy, all of which she doesn't have. I exhaled deeply. What do I need to do? I asked. Send a response immediately. I'll handle it. Mara's response was cold, calculated, and ruthless, a legal masterpiece that destroyed each claim Ethan had made. Every point was knocked down, every accusation unmasked, and just like that, his lawyer, or whoever he had paying for this mess, backed down. There were no more threats, no more calls from his family. It was over, or so I thought. Then came the final blow, the letter from the landlord. Your ex-fiancé has vacated the premises and left the keys on the kitchen counter. However, the apartment was left in poor condition. We are holding both of you responsible for the early termination penalty. It was the final slap in the face. He hadn't even bothered to tell me he was moving out. He'd just left. The damages? He'd trashed the place. And now I was being held accountable for the mess. I couldn't even look at the bill without feeling like I was suffocating. I called the landlord and paid my half of the penalty immediately, just to be done with it. The very next day, I got an unexpected surprise. A plain envelope arrived in the mail, no return address, just my name, handwritten across the front. I didn't even need to open it to know what it was. Inside, wrapped carelessly in a plastic sandwich bag, was the engagement ring. The one he'd kept, the one I'd picked out with so much care, now reduced to a disposable item, like it was something he had no more use for, now that he'd tossed me aside. I stared at it for a long time. Then I did the only thing I could think of. I called my sister, and we laughed. A real laugh, not the bitter kind that had been following me for months. I sold the ring the next day to cover some of the bills and left the rest of it behind. This was me letting go. A few weeks later, everything had changed. Ethan's last attempt came through his gym friend, Sierra, the one he'd used to test me. She'd sent me a message, one final play to guilt trip me. Hey, I know things ended badly between you two, but she's genuinely struggling right now. She lost the apartment. She's behind on her car payment. Her whole family is mad at her. Maybe you could help her out financially just for old time's sake. I know she's really sorry about everything that happened. I screenshot the message and sent it straight to Mariah. She didn't even have to respond before I blocked Sierra's number and moved on. But my ex wasn't finished yet. His mother called me from yet another new number a few hours later. If you do not help my daughter, she's going to end up homeless. I could already feel the pressure building in my chest, the old familiar pit of guilt being dragged back into place. But I knew what I had to say, what I should have said from the beginning. That would be unfortunate. She didn't like that. But this time, I didn't care. After everything, I finally understood the truth. Ethan didn't care about me. He never had. He only cared about being in control, and he'd rather have destroyed me than ever admit he was wrong. That was the hardest pill to swallow, but it was also the key to my freedom. I moved into a small apartment of my own. No more lies. No more pretending. Everything was different. I ran into a friend from our mutual circles at the grocery store a few weeks after all of it had finally unraveled. He looked at me, his gaze softening. I heard about what really happened. Not her version of things. Just wanted to say, I'm really sorry for what you went through. You look really healthy, by the way. I smiled, a real smile. I'm just trying to stay that way, I said. It wasn't just about the physical changes anymore. I had finally reclaimed myself, my health, my life, and my future. Ethan, he was part of my past now, and I was finally okay with that. The final update, I was 31. I had dropped 34 pounds, brought my cholesterol down to normal levels, and felt healthier than I had in years. I'd done it, alone. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't doing it for anyone else, just for me. And you know what? That was enough. It was more than enough.